Black men are the hardest group of men to date. And if you don't believe me, you can look at the divorce rates. Black men that marry black women get a divorce rate that's at 100% higher than the average. Black men that marry white women are at a 200% divorce rate increase. Black women that date non-black men are anywhere from 20 to 44% less in divorce rate. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because most black women are dating and marrying black men, and there are certain challenges involved with that I think are important, so I wanted to share those with you so you understood. Am I saying that I don't want you to be with a black man? Not at all. 2/3 of my clients actually end up with black men, but I want to make sure that you're vetting them very well so that you get healthy, healed black men. Okay? Okay, so what am I talking about? First, let's talk about mom. Girl, in the 90s, 75% of the households, black households, were single mother households. So black men generally have two relationships with their mother. Either they were a mesh, so entitled, and they think that they're the prize, and they are looking for women to be mothers, or their mother was very highly critical, judgmental. So a lot of black men are actually running away from black women because they're running away from their mothers. So a question that you want to ask if you're dating a black guy is ask him about his relationship with his mother.
Welcome back to the channel. And, I know some of the guys that are going to be, following this particular video are already going to have something to say about this particular guy. And I already know what y'all going to say. Look, dude, it came through my feed and I'm always here to talk about it. So let's move past that and let's get on to it. Okay, so you see the stuff on the screen, so you know what I'm about. And I'm all for, all types of love, including black love. All right. So I'm not against people that date outside of their race or overseas, but let's get to it. And for the people that follow me, they know that I'm all about solutions. I'm not necessarily, here just to go down the same path everybody's talking about. He starts off with the single mom thing. And I think it's interesting because a lot of influencers, period, have been talking about it and have been talking about the damage, that has been done. And I'm not beating up on women here because there are always men who have left those women. But we also know about some systematic things that have happened as well. All right. So I'm not here to talk about that today, but I am, here just to talk about it from the standpoint of a single mom. And the advice he gives from the perspective of understanding how the man feels about his mom, that's not the advice I give. I'm just going to be real. It's not the advice I give ladies. So if you're a woman and you're following me, I don't give that advice. The advice I would give to you is straight up, ask him what is his relationship with his father. Okay, whether it's strained, whether he's never met his dad, whether he, sees his dad all the time, whether he saw his dad in the summer, where, maybe he was with his dad until he was 15 and then he moved in with his mom. You want to know that information. I really don't understand why everybody keeps always asking about the mom. The mom really doesn't matter as much as the dad. And see, this is one of the narratives that gets played a lot in the African-American community, the generational black community, is because we keep pushing everything back on the single mom. Everything back on the mom, everything back on the mom, everything back on the mom. Well, both my parents, were married until I was 19. All right. But I can tell you straight up, I have friends who live with their dad. I have friends who live with their mom, but then they saw their dad. And all the friends who dad was strong in their lives, they're in a whole nother path right now. I don't care, like I said, even if they were going down a certain, had a certain scenario set up for them to fail. Generally speaking, if they had a dad and it was a good dad, they're going down a much better path right now. And for those that did just have the single mom, it was about the really the tenacity of the single mom to make sure that their son was around a lot of men that could speak into her son's life, because a man needs a man. I would definitely ask, to encourage women to understand that, what is his relationship with his father? And if he did not have one, that's okay. And I've even said that for the women, because I would ask that of women, if the guys that are watching, I ask that of women, what's your relationship with your dad? Because if she doesn't have a good relationship with her dad, then again, that's telling you something about her. If she the one man that she's supposed to learn to respect and to understand men from, if that guy wasn't there, then that is 18 years of training that is missing. And no amount of time now in a relationship is going to put that back. So if somebody has been in that situation, the first thing I've encouraged you guys to do, if you've been following me on my channel, is to read Proverbs, because that was Solomon as a father talking to his sons. But women, all you have to do is just change the language where it says male to female, and then you can get a lot of information from what Solomon was saying. Because it's really not that much difference between male and female, even though people think it is, it's really not that much. So if you just change out the wording a little bit in your head as you go along, and I've even done that in a couple of scriptures, as you know, like I say, for people that follow me, then you will get a lot of information out of that. And then the second thing is Matthew, but the book of Matthew. And I encourage you guys to read those over and over and over again to let that really get in your spirit. Now, the next thing that I would encourage you, if you know you've been through that, is you need to get into some books, you need to get into some therapy, and you need to understand how you feel about that situation. And from a woman's perspective, for the ladies, if you are out here and you're going and you're looking for a man, you have to figure out where you are when you're dealing with these men. Like, for instance, you may have daddy issues. So you're kind of looking for a man to be your daddy. All right. And then that can lead down some weirdness. But no matter what the situation is, you need to understand what your issues are. And you need to not be afraid to present those issues, not on the first date, maybe by, the second or third month. You need to present those issues to your future person. And then you need to be working those issues for the rest of your life. We have to understand that when we ourselves have gone through a problem, we have to work these things for the rest of our lives. Paul talked about this in the New Testament because he was basically saying the things that I want to do, I don't do. But the things that I don't want to do, those are the very things that I do. And he recognized that he was going to have to fight that fight until he died. And this was somebody who literally saw Jesus. So we as humans, what this tells us is that we have addictions. That's how I see them. They're addictions. All right. We can be addicted to toxicity. We can be a woman that has daddy issues, can be addicted to a man that is kind of like her dad, like a dad that she's always dreamed of. But now it's a little perverse because she's sleeping with him. You see what I'm saying? So this is something she has to work on for the rest of her life. You can never let your guard down. You have to fight this fight until your last breath, because what will happen is you'll relapse. All right. And we talk about this a lot, especially when it comes to women who have dated Pookie. And what happens is when women date Pookie and then they get the good guy, and then 3 years in, they relapse. They're like, oh, I kind of want Pookie. I like the way Pookie was doing it. And then, I'm just being real. The devil always sends a perfect scenario for you to fall back into that life. And see, if you fall back into that life, you can lose everything. And one of the things that I've learned is in a relationship, you cannot give the devil an inch. So you need to identify the type of person that you are, what's going on in your spirit, and make sure that you're doing your best to keep the gaps closed. All right? Because they're still going to be there. They're always going to be there for the rest of your life. I have my own issues. Trust me, that God is working on in me. I am not perfect. And I have to work to keep that stuff, because it wants to, and I'm like,
Some, systematic prejudices, racism, discrimination. Black men are not making as much money as probably they need to be, but also they're making less money than Black women. So, and this is the only kind of racial group where this happens. And so it is very hard to find a Black man that is making more than you. And
actually, I have to stop him right there because that's actually not true. And I actually, again, you guys know about me. I hate these narratives. Because what he's saying here is more hearsay, not facts. And I'm going to throw up some facts so that the women that are following can see this. There's a lot of Black men that are doing very well. Now, they might be doing well in areas that you don't like. And that's something totally different. Because, for instance, if a man is out there and he is a trucker, or if he's out there and he's working construction, that's a certain type of life. All right. A trucker can be away all the time, and you might not see him, every day. Or he might be doing, have some other kind of job that, because I'm gonna be real. I mean, you can make, and even for the guys that are watching, have you ever seen those electric poles? That are just kind of sitting up there and they go way up high, and there's a wire, that goes, I don't know what those structures are called, but those things you can make like I don't know exactly the number, but it's like $300, $400, $500 an hour, in order to fix those, because those need to be fixed. And people can make good money, $150,000, $200,000 a year, doing that. And again, that's big money. And then you have people that are in the military, or they have become cops, police officers. And again, I've tried to encourage you guys to look at those jobs if you're a guy and you don't really know what you want to do with your life, because those are really good professions and you can make good money, and you can actually retire by 55. All right. If you started at 18 to 20, you can probably retire by 55. So these are really great professions that, believe it or not, they will make money, because a lot of cops, what they do is that they have one job, through the police force, and they might make 60 or whatever through the police force, but then they have other side jobs, like, when you go to church and you see the cop out there and he's directing traffic. Well, they actually make money off that as well. So there's a lot of little things that men can do, and they might be working 60 hours a week, but they still might come up with a salary that, rivals a lot of women. And we have to get away from this uber successful women, concept, which you've heard me talk about before, because there's very few women that actually make over $150,000. Now, we do have the advent of nurses right now. And I think nurses are kind of the anomaly, because of the pandemic, it just oversaturated the need for nurses. And we still have, an abundance of a need for nurses. But then a lot of nurses, honestly, they became millionaires during that time. Many of them got worn out. They got tired. And so between the money that they made and then how tired many of them are, a lot of them left. And so the need for nurses is still high, and a lot of nurses are still making really good money. I mean, they could be easily making 250. So I think once you remove them, out of the spectrum, you're not really getting a lot of women that are making over 150. And so again, I don't like that narrative that's constantly saying that black men ain't got no money, because that's not true. And then again, the average black woman is only making about, I think it's like 48,000. If I get the number, I'll actually toss it up. But it's a little under 50 grand. That's the average black woman. Now, remember, he could be trying to talk more to the middle class black women. And I do think if you're talking to the middle class and upper class black women, more of what he says makes sense, but it doesn't always. Like, I only have a bachelor's degree, but I make more money than most of the women that I know that are actually have master's degrees. One of my really good friends, well, actually several of the people that I know, that they have master's degrees, and I make more money than them. In fact, there's only been, since I've been dating, about 5 or 6 women that make more money than me. Even though when they first meet me, they don't think I make a lot of money because I just have a bachelor's degree. So again, we got to get out of this narrative, because, experience, getting a good job, understanding that job, being good on that job, those things help to, help you make money. And then, like I said, a lot of men, not all, but a lot of men have side hustles as well. And I've always had a side hustle, whether that side hustle was in photography, videography, whether that side hustle was in writing books or doing movies. There's always been a side hustle, and side hustles might make $10, $15, $20, $30,000 a year. So again, I think you have to put it fully into perspective, because there's a lot of black men out here that are single. Like I said, even in my group, that are single, that are dating, that don't have children, that are looking for children, and they actually do pretty well. And again, like I said, I've been in environments where I've watched with my own eyes, black women overlook them.
If that is the case, oftentimes Black men will feel emasculated and often try to humble you and control you because they don't feel like they're in financial control. So that makes it a little bit challenging when you're dealing with Black men.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about that because I can understand that there are some insecure Black men. Okay, there are, and I'm not gonna, try to cover it up. And I know a lot of Black men that watch me, they probably don't like that. But again, guy, am I talking to you? And if you say something in the comments, it's kind of like that whole thing about a hit dog. A hit dog barks. As they say. So the whole thing about it is there are some insecure men. You're always going to run into insecure men. But the concept here is for the ladies that are watching, and really for the guys too, how good is your picker? Can you pick a good man? If you can't pick a good man, that's really what the problem is. The problem really is not so much that the men out here are insecure. The problem is, can you pick a good man? And then the next thing about the whole thing about being controlling, again, who are you dealing with? Like if you deal with me, like I tell you straight up, and I've said this before in a lot of my videos, is that I am a servant leader. And like I said, I said this, I've had at least 2 or 3 women to tell me when they're talking to me that they're like, you're the one I pray for. You're the one that opens these doors and is doing this and pays for the dates and takes care of this and takes care of that. And you're nice to me and you don't have to cuss all the time. And, you're handsome and this and that and the third. And they're just giving me all these compliments. And then they're like, but I don't know kind of what to do with you because now I got you. And it's weird, right? And it's because they dealt with nothing but toxic men. And see, again, and even when they get to that, like I told you, because I've dated a couple of millionaires. Now, my millionaires didn't say this. This was some other women. As I'm dating like one of these women that was a millionaire, I literally told her, I told her, I said, I am a servant leader, but I was like, I am a leadership guy. And I was like, and I said it, in a nice way, but I was trying to explain to her that we're not 50-50. There's no 50-50 when it comes to the family. Okay? It's God, then it's the husband, then it's the wife, then it's the children in that order. And if you are not down for that, then me and you can't talk. And that is the biblical order of the family. And she didn't like that. Why didn't she like that? Because she made a lot of money. And she thought that her money gave her control. And see, she's doing exactly what he says, but in reverse. She thinks her money gives her control, that she can somehow jump over the order. But no, you can't jump over the order. The order is always the order. And as long as I'm doing what I need to do before God, and I am that servant leader, then I have the right to stay in that place. Now, if I'm not doing what I need to do, if I'm a jerk and I'm acting crazy and all this other kind of stuff, then that's fine. Then if I need to be demoted, then God will demote me. Okay. And in some relationships, the man is demoted. But if I'm doing everything I need to do, I don't care that you've been dealing with these dudes that are jerks. If you have not healed from those dudes, then that's your problem. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But again, that's why I say, we have to make sure we talk these things through.
Ask him what he does, right? You want to ask him, and then you want to glass door that mofo, girl. You also want to ask him how many people he manages, right? Because if he can't manage people professionally, he probably can't manage people personally. Thirdly, you want to ask about the men in his life, his mentors. A lot of Black men actually don't have many mentors, so it's really weird to say, and it feels very archaic, but it's very true, and it is this. A man is looking for an alpha man to kind of check him. That is kind of the orders of operation, PEMDAS, if you will, in terms of how to kind of raise a man. And so if he doesn't have mentors, a father, other elders to kind of keep him in check, he's going to be out here kind of roaming the streets like many of them are. So you want to ask him, who are his male role models and mentors? Okay.
All right, ladies. So what he said right there, I agree and I disagree. So if you've been hanging out on my channel, I talk about the 3 personality types. And remember, there's a hybrid between each type. So you have the instinct type, you have the thinking type, and you have the heart type. And remember, most people, despite themselves, are attracted to people, the same person over and over again. So they're attracted to the same person over and over again. It's like, I use zodiac sometimes and I'll say, people who are attracted to Geminis seem to always find another Gemini, right? So it's the same thing. There's a lot of men that are attracted to heart types, thinking types, instinct types, whatever. And as a woman, you might be those as well. So I am an instinct type. Okay. I am an instinct type. That is primary. That's like 60% of my personality. And then about 25% of my personality is in the heart type. And then the rest of me is in the thinking type. I generally only get into the thinking energy when I am depressed. I'll just be honest. That's how I work. So most of the time I'm in the heart type and I'm in the instinct type, but I lean into the instinct type. Now, what he said doesn't work on me. What he just said doesn't work on me because instinct types do not have mentors. All right. That's really important for you to understand. Even women that are instinct types, many times they do not have mentors because they believe that they can control it on their own. Instinct types generally have a God complex. Again, I'm being real. That's why I say it's always interesting to me that I am now on the internet and I am got a cross on the screen, because if you had told me this 5 years ago, I would have told you you're full of it. But God did something in me and he got me humbled under him. And he's the only person that could have done it, because my friends will tell you, I don't listen to nobody. Okay. But that doesn't mean I'm not a good person. It just, when I say good person, evidently with quotes, but that is not how I roll. But I roll very masculine. I take care of people. Like I said, I've directed films. I've worked in a lot of spaces. And to his point that he said slightly earlier, I have directed other men that are millionaires. Because like I said, I worked with the late great Tommy Ford, and I directed him in a movie when I was pretty much broke. Okay, I did this. So no, what he's saying is it doesn't work for instinct types. What he is talking about is for thinking types. Thinking types need mentors. They're always leaning towards a mentor to help them and guide them down the path of life. There's nothing really wrong with being a thinking type. Okay? I run into a lot of thinking types. And the thinking types that understand that they are, like as a man, I'm talking about male thinking types. The thinking types that understand that they are do a much better job, because it's like once you identify and you understand, I can go from here and I can take it there. All right. But if you're lying to yourself about your energy, then it doesn't work. All right. So for the thinking type men that are following me, that's cool. I mean, it's really not a problem. But what you have to do as a man is just be educated. That's why I'm always telling thinking types to be educated, always reading books, always, taking the information and getting yourself in front of really good men. Thinking types are the primary people that, when people say stuff like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Show me, your social media, I'll show you your future. Okay, show me your book list, your bookshelf, and I'll show you your future. And I've had women, like I said, to come over and they'll look at my bookshelf and they'll be kind of excited about my bookshelf. But then honestly, I probably have read maybe a third of those books because I'm instinct type. So I only really look in the book for reference. I'm not looking to read the book. But thinking types need to read the book. Okay, because they're looking for more leadership in the way that they go through life. So what he is saying is both true and is not true. But remember, ladies, if you end up with a guy that's an instinct-driven guy, it's going to literally be his way or the highway. Many women say that they want that until they get it. And this is why a lot of instinct-driven women don't do well with instinct-driven men, because instinct-driven men are the exact same way as instinct-driven women, and both of them want control. But thinking types and heart types do very well under instinct-driven men, because those instinct-driven men take care of everything so that the thinking type and the heart type don't have to. All right, but you still have to make sure that your instinct-driven man is basically a servant leader. This is really important, because, a lot of ladies will take this information and they'll run for the hills and they'll say, oh, I got me an instinct-driven dude. I got me a alpha. I got me a leader. I got me a high-value man. But it comes with a cost. And you have to make sure that that man's heart is right. Because if his heart is not right, he'll make your life miserable. All right? And that's really any one of the types. They can make your life miserable if you do not understand each one of them. And then no matter what, they have to be submitted. Okay? Like I said, even if they don't love God, even if they don't love Jesus, they have to be submitted to the concept of loving you. All right? And doing for you. And again, I don't think there's going to be too many men in the comments that are going to hate on that, because most men understand that they have to protect their woman. All right? That they're supposed to protect, provide, and lead, and they have to protect their woman. All right? And this is why women, you respect your man. You take care of your man, but you take care of him in a different way. All right? And believe it or not, men need love. They really do need love, but they need love in a different way than women need love.
Fourthly, you have to understand something. There are 100 black women to 88 black men. So what that means is, and if you went to college, you understood.
Oh, wow. He actually said it. That was actually my numbers a long time ago, was 88 to 100. And this is not dealing with gay men or men in jail. So he actually said my number, but there was another lady that, I put up multiple times. She says 83 to 100. And that's why, honestly, a lot of times on this channel, I say 4 to 5, 80 to 100. And I know a lot of women might not like that number, but you actually, as a woman, should not have a problem with that number, because I'm letting you know 20% of women are going to give up anyway. See, more women are going to give up than men are going to give up, because the way that a man's nature works and the way that a woman's nature works, it works totally different. Like, a lot of women don't understand. Like, a lot of you ladies that are watching me right now, if you are introverts, and I've already done a video about introverts, I'll put it up. If you're an introverted woman who wants a family and knows how to pick a good man, if you can just get out of your house just a little bit, you'll probably be married just like that. You'll be married so quick, because there's a lot of men that are looking for you. They really are looking for you. And that's why I say there's so many women that take themselves out of the game. You can't find a man in your house sitting around waiting on the Amazon man to deliver your man. It don't work that way. You have got to get out, or at least I'm just trying to think of ways, that you guys could find your person. But you've got to find a way to get out there, even if you are lingering around the grocery store twice as long as what you normally do. Or, like I said, you're hanging out at church and the benediction happens, but then you force yourself to go to the bathroom. And then from the bathroom, you walk through the church, do a loop, and you go to the other bathroom. And you wash your hands in the other bathroom. And then you come out and you do another loop, then you go home. It's just giving you more time to run into people. All right? And that's what you have to do if you're a little bit more introverted. But remember that a good portion of women are going to take themselves out of the game. So this 4 to 5 ratio should not really be a problem for most women if they, like I said, just get in the game. You gotta do your part to be found. And trust me, there are men that are looking for. I'm looking, so there are men out there that are looking. There's men in the comments that are looking. There's men that are watching me but don't comment, because I know sometimes the comments can get a little aggressive. So there are men out there. But trust me when I tell you that over right now, about 60% of the people that are following me are men. And all I talk about is marriage. And I'm saying men need to get married. Men need to get married. You make more money when you get married. And so, ladies, there are men that are listening. They're there and they want to be married, but they got to find you. All right. And you got to find them. So don't get worried about 88 to 100 or 80 to 100 and all this other kind of stuff. Because like I said, half of your friends, they're going to take themselves out of the game. All right. And the hardest group, and I've said this before, the hardest group of women to get married are what? The instinct types. And the hardest group of men to get married are the heart types. All right. So heart type men have a hard time. They have a hard time. But you don't see them complaining because in the male community, we don't really respect, when men are, bleeding hearts. I'm just being real. So for the men, what they have to do is they have to strategize in a different way than the women have to strategize.
This gender ratio gap. It means that oftentimes men have more power because there are fewer of them. So it means that they're going to have lower commitment rates and higher abandonment rates because they're going to have other women waiting for them, which isn't necessarily the case for Black women because there's so much more of them. And if
Again, what he's saying right there, I actually disagree with. Again, I think the core of what he's saying, for the ladies that like him and following him, I'm not 100% against, but I think some of it is hearsay, and then I think some of it doesn't take into all of the statistics. I put up a video recently that actually had Matthew Hussey in it, and I generally don't even refer to other dating coaches on this particular channel. I just think it's not in really awesome taste when that happens. But the main reason why I did it was because I was trying to show that there are other people out here that are saying the exact same thing that I am saying, but it's how they're weighing the information. And so when you take this concept that 80% of women are chasing 20% of men, those are really the men that he is talking about. He's talking about that 20%. And then, like, according to Matthew Hussey, and again, according to what I would say, is that in that 20%, more than likely 18% or so of that is men that are actively chasing. They chase anything. They will chase, seriously, they would chase a duck that is fine. That's just who they are. Okay. And so those men are the ones that are getting a lot of attention. But really great men, a lot of times, they're not that good with this whole social confidence thing that women get all attracted to. See, a man who is socially confident, he's confident simply because he's used to doing it. Okay? If I go on a basketball court right now, and I have not been on a basketball court in probably 15 years, but if I go, because I like football a little bit more than basketball. But if I go on a basketball court and I basically stand at the free throw line and I try to, put in a basket right now, if you say, "Hey Jay, I'll give you $1 million," if you, hit a free throw. I'll be honest, I have like 1% confidence that I'm going to hit that free throw. Because why? I don't have to practice. Now, give me 6 months. Shoot, give me 3 months. Where every day I go on that doggone basketball court, I stand at the free throw line, and I have a whole lot of balls next to me, and I just keep doing it. Then say, after 3 months of me doing that, "Hey Jay, I'll give you $1 million if you hit this hit a ball from the free throw line." Shoot, I probably had 90%, 95% confidence that I would do it. Why? Because I have experience. Confidence comes from experience. It does not come because a man is a man. And the more experience a man has talking to women, the more women he has talked to. This does not make sense. And the more than likely, the more women he has talked to, the more women he's had sex with. And the more women he's had sex with, the more now he has all of these soul ties and other, issues, and maybe even a few babies that are all around. How do you think women end up in these situations where they dating a dude that's got 2 baby mamas? See, you ended up talking to him because he was super confident when he came up to you, but then you had another guy that wasn't as confident. He might have been handsome, but he wasn't quite as confident, but then you didn't talk to him. And the reason why you didn't talk to the less confident dude is because you think confidence is worth something. Social confidence is a totally different type of confidence. And I'm constantly trying to tell women this. Social confidence is totally different than business confidence. For instance, you can have somebody like Zuckerberg. All right. And a lot of y'all know who Zuckerberg is. That's why I'm using him, the guy that created Facebook. Okay. He had all the confidence to create a multi-billion-dollar, now trillion-dollar company. He had no problems with doing that. But you take him even right now, and you put him in a room with a whole lot of 10-level beauties, okay, that don't know who he is, and tell him to go get one of their numbers. And we'll see how confident he is. And see, this is nothing against him. What I'm saying is he has business confidence enough to make $1 trillion. But I doubt he has social confidence enough to talk to a pretty woman. So women need to stop putting all of this pressure on social confidence, because generally social confidence is the guy that don't have a business confidence. Why? Because he done nothing but chase tail all his life.
If you are in a bigger city, it's going to be even worse, right? It's actually like 25% more Black women than Black men. So it makes it harder to date them. So when you're asking about kind of his commitment level, you want to ask him how many relationships he's had that has lasted more than a year, okay? And finally, the reason why it's kind of harder to date Black men is because of the micro and macro aggressions that they have to face, similar to what the aggressions that you have to face. But oftentimes, those things will lead to depression and anger for men, and they might bring it home, which can make it very hard for Black women to be with them. So you want to ask them how they deal with those sorts of aggressions on a daily basis and how they manage it mentally, intellectually, emotionally. I hope this is helpful as you evaluate Black men.
All right, ladies. So to end this, and for the guys that are watching, to end this, I would say that, I think you can date Black men. I do think that, yes, Black men have issues, but again, it depends upon which Black man you're trying to date. There are pros and cons depending upon where you are. And, I've talked about this before. We have a socioeconomic level that we have to talk about. You got Black men out here that are making $30,000. You got Black men out here that are making $300,000. The guy that is making $30,000 is not necessarily worse than the guy that makes $300,000, and or vice versa. And you cannot believe that just because a man makes a lot of money that he's a nice guy. And you cannot believe that the guy who makes $30,000 won't 2 years from now make $150,000. So, we have to put all that in perspective. Now, once we get beyond that, you really just need to understand the core of who the man is in front of you. All right. And you need to make sure that he likes you. See, one of the things that I didn't hear him say was that side of it. Does he really like you? What is he willing to give up for you? And when I'm talking about give up, I'm not talking about like literally give up money. Like I dated this lady one time, and she came over to my house, and she was like, I had a stack of cups, because I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan, and they had some promos for some cups. So I ended up, supporting this little kid through the promo. And so I ended up with like 4 matching set cups. So this woman comes over, and she's like literally trying to take one of my cups, because I guess some dating coach told her that if a guy gives her something that is personal to him, then he will, like her or whatever. I don't know what she was thinking, but she was trying to take one of my cups. And I'm thinking in my mind, I don't want one of my cups to leave because I don't have before of them. And if people come over and we're all watching the Falcons game, then I want 4 cups so that we can all be matching, and so I can actually, present well, So I'm thinking about it from that perspective. She's thinking about it like, oh, well, he needs to give me a cup. But I'm thinking, damn, I just go buy you a cup if you need a cup. And for $20, for the whole stack of them. And so it got all confused based upon, this concept, but she's trying to figure out what I'm willing to give up for her. But the problem is she was so focused on this material possession type of thing, instead of saying, what is he willing to give up that is the essence of him? And see, that's what I encourage women to pay attention to. And there's 3 things that people talk about all the time. There people talk about people talk about things, and people talk about ideas. All right. So I'm an idea guy. All right. So for me, it's all about ideas. For her, she was a things person. That's why she was so focused on the cup. Then you have other people that are more people. And that's when, you have to have somebody that's saying, okay, I'm willing to give up my family and move to this other state to be with you. That's like a difference in the way that they move. But you have to understand how the person moves. And when I say give up, I'm not saying that there's no more attachment. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. What I'm saying is you're just trying to find out if he can make some changes. All right. And I'm not saying that these changes have to be permanent, but you're just trying to see where his mind is at. But you have to be able to really understand him. And I think that there's a lost art among women where they don't really understand men anymore. And men are pretty simple. I mean, most of us will tell you what we want and who we are if you will listen. But when you're listening, don't infer your beliefs on what he is saying. Listen to him and the words coming out of his mouth and try to find out his feelings on the words that is coming out of his mouth. And men, you do the exact same thing for women. If you really want to know what women are about, let them talk, sit back and listen. Don't put your spin on it. Instead, just let them talk, let them tell you their feelings about said thing, and that way you will know how they feel. You can figure out whether or not guys that are watching and women, it doesn't matter. You can find out how much they care about cars, clothes, houses, children, pets, God. You can tell all of it just by listening and not trying to force them to say a certain thing, not finishing their sentences and not trying to take them down another path because, they said they love God. Well, okay. They love God. And then if you sit back and listen, some people, after they say they love God, they might say, well, I don't really go to church though. I love God, but yeah, he cool and everything. He been good to me. He been good to me in my life. But, a lot of people, they be talking about tithing, man. I don't do no tithing, man, And I'll be honest, I really need to listen to a lot more gospel music. I don't really like to listen to that. But I love God. And see, what'll happen is a lot of us, we'll break in. He'll be like, I love God, Oh, I love God too. I love God, and I love to listen to Christian music. And, Kirk Franklin is one of my favorites. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. You love God too. And so you done missed everything else he was going to say because you done jumped in instead of just letting them talk. Sometimes the best thing to do is to give somebody 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds because you'll be surprised how many people will pick up their own conversation and give you information that they really didn't want to let out. Listen, people, listen to other people. That's going to bless you. Anyway, this got long. I'm sorry. Remember, there's information in the description to help you out. Please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.